This is part 3 of section 1.3, functions. So now we're going to talk about using function notation. Okay, so if g of x, this can be g, f, h, r, a bunch of different things. It's usually just sort of an identifier. This is saying, go look at the function we've labeled g. So g of x is equal to 2x plus the square root of x squared minus 4. And we're asked to find each function value. Basically, this is just asking you to remember how function notation works. And I'm sure you all know this. This says to go take 0, and you're going to plug it in for x. So everywhere there's an x, I'm going to plug in 0. So I get 2 times 0 plus the square root of 0 squared minus 4. Now you can use a calculator or you can do it in your head because this one's fairly easy. Just don't forget your order of operations. 2 times 0 is 0. I'm writing out more steps here than you will probably need to see. Plus this will be 0 minus 4, so this is negative 4. And the square root of negative 4, yes, it is 2i. But we're not interested in complex answers right now. For right now, when we're talking about functions, what we're going to say when you take the square root of a negative number, this does not exist. It's not a real solution. You will also often see this as D and E. Does not exist. It's just asking for us to do something that we're not allowed to do. When we're talking about functions, when we're going to be talking about graphs and domain and range and everything, we generally ignore imaginary solutions. And you're going to do that for a lot of calculus. Not all of it, just a good chunk of it. Okay? So now let's figure g of 1. So I'm going to take the value of 1 and I'm going to plug it in everywhere here. So I have 2 times 1 plus the square root of 1 squared, which is 1 minus 4. So this is 2 plus the square root of negative 3. And again, we're being asked to take the square root of a negative number, which again means that we're talking about imaginary solutions or complex answers. So again, we're going to say that this does not exist. All right, let's find g of 2. So we're going to take the value of 2 and we're going to plug it in for x up here. So this would be 2 times 2 plus the square root of 2 squared minus 4. So this is 4 plus the square root of 4 minus 4, which is 4 plus the square root of 0, which is 4. G of negative 2. So I'm going to take a negative 2 and I'm going to plug it in everywhere there was an x here. So this is 2 times negative 2 plus the square root of negative 2 in parentheses squared minus 4. You want to square this whole value. If you're not careful and you enter this into your calculator without the parentheses, it's going to give you the wrong answer. Okay? 2 times negative 2 is negative 4, plus the square root of negative 2 inside parentheses squared is 4, minus 4. So this time, that's 0. So your answer is just negative 4. All right, one more. G of negative x. Now, I know this is going to sort of feel like a silly type problem at the moment, but this ends up being a very important concept as we go along. What we're going to do is everywhere there was an x, I'm going to plug in negative x. And I'm going to use parentheses as I do this. So I'm going to have 2 times negative x plus the square root of negative x squared minus 4. Okay? Well, this is 2 times, remember that's a -1. That can actually, I know at this point you don't even really think about it much anymore, but when you're worried about signs, it can help you to remember, especially when we start squaring things, that there is a 1 right there. 2 times -x is going to be -2x plus. When you square 2 things multiplied together, remember you square each one. So -1 squared is +1, so that becomes positive. X squared minus 4. Now, the language I tend to use as we're talking about this, and like I said, this concept becomes important, is that squaring something or raising something to an even power in general, I say that it absorbs the negative. It just sort of makes it go away. Because when you raise a negative number to an even power, it becomes positive.